contribution. Membership. Who here is a member of AUSA? Please raise your hand. Wow, that's tremendous. Everyone else, please look at the camera, smile. We're recording. We will review the tapes later, and we will get in touch with you one way or another. As you know, AUSA is a membership organization, and General Haley told me today that we have 1.8 million members as of today. Let's give that a big round of applause. We can't do what we do without you. By being a member, you help AUSA be an effective voice for the total Army and provide support for our soldiers and our families. If you are not already a premium member, I do ask that you stop by and connect with Tripp, who's part of our membership team out in the foyer, and he'll be happy to talk with you about membership and all the great benefits to participating with AUSA. Networking lunch. We do have a networking lunch today at 11:30. It'll be a great chance to discuss the first half of today and network with all the great people that are here. Wi-Fi, you can see the details on the screen. You need to connect, use that network ID and password. And cell phones, I just ask that you silence your cell phones or iPads or really anything that make noise. And with that, I want to thank our 3-star sponsor, Munitions Industrial Base Task Force. Let's give them a big round of applause. Jay Branham is here. Thank you, Jay, for your support. We appreciate that. Jay is also a moderator today. So again, a big thank you to our 3-star sponsor, Munitions Industrial Base Task Force. We really can't thank our sponsors enough. And if you're interested in being a sponsor at any of our events, please connect with Gay Hudson or Emily Call, and they'll be happy to talk with you about all the great benefits of being a sponsor at events like our Hot Topics. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Association of the United States Army. Please put your hands together for General Mohan.
All right, what a great group, great way to start 2025. I'm a little nervous, I gotta say, as an infantry guy. There's so many logisticians out there, superstars, and they just said, I don't care how you do it, just support the operation and all that. I think there's a little payback here. You're gonna come back and tell me how much it really matters and how I screwed it up. But welcome, this is a great way to start it. It's interesting, we just renovated this. We had a room in the back so we can fit more folks. And that's the more the better, and what a great crowd. Again, thanks for weaving your way through the maze. Again, impressive that logisticians could find their way through that maze. I think there was an infantryman leading is why, but anyway, some great topics today. You know, this came about, we were always looking, what is the need out there? And a lot of folks, you know, obviously the industrial base, absolutely, can you get a more hot topic? I think this is the most important hot topic we'll probably do all year. And so many folks are saying, look, we need to meet, we need to bring out all the issues in this. There's a bunch. And so we're very fortunate today. The theme is linking the industrial base to the tactical edge. And I think that's a great one, because really what it's all about. And historically, you know, the industrial base has been an integral part of supporting and generating readiness during times of conflict, and certainly can't be just during times of conflict, or you can't do it. And obviously, the ability of the defense industrial base, both the organic and commercial, to come together and support emerging requirements is absolutely critical to ensure that our warfighters have what they need to succeed. It won't happen without that. AMC, tremendous partner. Thanks so much, Army Materiel Command, for working with us in this, and DLA, a tremendous partnership here, and G4, all working so hard in this area with incredible initiatives focused on advanced manufacturing, supply chain, modernization, integration of allies and partner capabilities as well, which is so key. It's really our advantage, allies and partners. So this event and forum for professional dialogue, we've got senior government officials, academia, we've got industry, senior industry superstars, military leaders, and coming together. If we can't solve it all, I don't know who can. No doubt a great forum to look at the demands on the industrial base. How do we keep pace with Army transformation? There's some real challenges out there, and the panels, we got just, I think it's the best set of panels I've seen with experts and tremendous dialogue. And I would just emphasize, make them tough questions. You know, I see some people out there, I know give tough questions, Mary, this year's, you know, some tough questions, no doubt. But tough questions to the panel, because you got the experts here, and let's, you know, let them really dig into it and make sure if you've got a question out there, that we're getting it answered. And if they don't have the answer, folks go back and work it later, and that's exactly what we need, getting out of this hot topic, to really solve the problems. And if you can't solve them here, what's the road ahead to get them accomplished? So thanks to our speakers for being here and those involved in the panels, and you'll see they'll do a great job. I'd like to also thank our 3-star sponsor. They almost had the sponsor with the name Munitions Industrial Base Task Force. Okay, you almost had no choice, right? I mean, you had to with that great name, but no, really, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And again, thanks for being on the panel. So let me introduce our first keynote speaker, one of our Army's great leaders, a tremendous logistician, leader extraordinaire, Lieutenant General Chris Mohan, and assumed duties as the Deputy Commanding General of AMC in 2 December 2022. Seems like yesterday to me. It's amazing how fast that goes. And in this role, he's responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of the Army's logistics enterprise. He also serves as a senior commander for Redstone Arsenal in Alabama. He's a native of Carthage, North Carolina, commissioned at 1989 at Appalachian State University, the school that upsets so many teams out there, and everybody goes, "Oh, Appalachian State, they beat us, 3 years ago, whatever." So I know he enjoys that. He had graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice. He also holds a Master's of Science in National Security and Strategic Studies from the Naval War College, and a Master's degree in Military Strategy from the Army War College. So without further ado, our first keynote, Chris, the floor is yours.
Well, good morning, everybody. And just for the record, I think this is the largest hot topic that you guys have had. So, sir, we do know how to find our way around. And look, to me, these events, it's not only a great opportunity to talk about things that are incredibly important, but also it's a great opportunity to see a lot of old friends and colleagues from both sides of the fence, right? And I think these are powerful because we're not in a company headquarters, we're not in the ACOM headquarters, we're in a neutral zone, if you will, where we can trade ideas and talk with professionals who are all aiming for the same end state, which is to provide better support to our country. So thanks for that. I want to thank General Brown, General Smith, even though General Smith is, he's got a character flaw because he went to Georgia Southern. And I'm surprised that I get a text message when they happen to beat us, which happens quite a bit sometimes. They're our Achilles heel. Yeah, arch nemesis. But the entire AUSA team, we really appreciate what you do. And as I've become more senior and had more turns, if you will, I have a greater appreciation for how you bring everybody together. And so I truly appreciate that. I also have the opportunity to see a lot of my teammates, not only for commanders that I get to serve with every day within ANC, but also DLA, G4. I mean, it's a really great environment. I know that we have a great agenda today, and I know that we're going to have some powerful discussions and really hard questions, because we've got really, really tough problems to solve. And I can talk a little bit about that, but all your hard questions go to other people that are on the panel. We're going to talk about supply chain integration with our allies and partners. Hey, look, that's incredibly important because we're not going to fight alone. If you look back at our previous conflicts, we don't fight alone, so we have to be integrated. We're going to talk about industrial-based modernization. Hey, are we buying the right stuff? Are we spending our taxpayers on the right capability? We've got to think really hard about that. And it's not just our machinery; it's our facilities. So I'll give you an example. Hey, UAS, the space is exploding. UAS, counter UAS. It is dynamically changing the battlefield. And so should we buy or should we build aircraft hangars for a current fleet, and the hangar is going to last 150 years? Well, we don't know what the aviation fleet's going to look like in 5 years. We're on a 12-week integration cycle in Ukraine. A 12-week cycle. Build something new, fight something new, react to the enemy's countermeasures. Build something new. I mean, so it is. So we've got to think and we've got to challenge ourselves. But the good news is we've got the right folks here to chew on those big problem sets. And again, there are big problem sets. Because I know that we can get it done as long as we're all working together and as long as we all have the same purpose and the same end state. To kick things off, what I'd like to do is kind of do a little scene setter about what I believe the future battlefield looks like. And some of this we're already seeing. So 5 years in the future, we're engaged overseas in a large-scale ground combat operation against an enemy. Pick one. I can give you some examples or give you some potentials. A forward unit is preparing to do a deep strike with a HIMARS weapon system. And you know the lethality of HIMARS and how important it's been on the battlefield. But they have a critical fight, a critical fault, and that system is non-mission capable, and the crew cannot fix what is broken. In today's environment, in the U.S. Army, that weapon system's off the battlefield until we can get that critical part. They need a part until we can get that critical part to them. As a result, the unit's either going to task another asset, move another strike capability close, think about island hopping, or the mission will not be launched, and we're not going to strike the target we need. But in the world, we envision that HIMARS crew quickly jumps on our telemaintenance chat network and pulls up the subject matter expert who is operating, in some cases, from sanctuary. So all the way back in the continental United States. They establish a secure remote connection, and they talk to the actual expert, the engineer that is responsible for that weapon system and for the fault that is produced. Their assessment has revealed that they need a critical part. So fortunately, and that critical part is not in the theater. It is not in the theater. And in a system that is complex as the HIMARS or Patriot, that is not uncommon. So fortunately, their support unit, or perhaps an allied capability, has the advanced 3D printing technology necessary to fabricate the required part. And this is an important footstone, we have the tech data so that we can actually print the part. We have the intellectual property so we can actually print the part. So as the crew continues with the telemaintenance process, the support team is printing the part. This approach dramatically reduces lead times compared to traditional logistics that would have taken weeks to actually pull the part off the shelf, transport it overseas, and then all the way to the point of contact. Now in the future scenario, we start adding layers to this. And so not only do we print the part on using advanced manufacturing principles, then we pick it up with a UAS, a sustainment UAS that can carry actual cargo. And it is picked up by a drone that is programmed and designed and developed to operate in a contested space. And that drone delivers that part to the point of need. And once that drone drops that part off at the grid coordinate that is generated by the unit, then the unit jumps back on the telemaintenance channel and says, and perhaps using VR, virtual reality headsets, and then they use that capability to actually install that part and bring that weapon system back up. So that's a future state. But let me tell you what, we're closer now than we've ever been. So let's talk about the pieces of that. Telemaintenance, we're doing it every single day, and we've been doing it for the last 2 years in support of our Ukrainian partners. And that was a homegrown U.S. Army warrant officer who developed the principles of telemaintenance. We've also started to integrate telemaintenance concepts and capability into our CTCs with great success, both in CONUS and overseas. 3D printing. We are exploding as the world is exploding in this space. We are 3D printing, advanced manufacturing parts at JMTC and all across the Army. I had the opportunity to travel to Fort Stewart before Christmas, and I'm talking to a specialist in their innovation center. And that specialist has designed, did I hit the button wrong? All right, hold tight. That specialist has designed a a fixture that hangs on the bottom of a UAS that they produced at 3rd Infantry Division that'll drop a hand grenade. He's like, hey, General, check this out. And hey, that space is exploding. And at Rock Island, we're printing 3D printing titanium. We have integrated 3D printing into our traditional manufacturing processes. And we have the world's largest 3D printer, which Michael Layla calls the Millennium Falcon. And you got a Chewbacca out there who's banging on it every once in a while. But hey, our Chewbacca has a PhD in advanced manufacturing. So we are exploding in that space. Autonomous resupply at PC5, and I don't want to steal the thunder of one of the panels. At upcoming Project Convergence, we'll fly a UAS. We'll also test out an autonomous watercraft as part of that exercise. So this stuff is at our fingertips. We just got to pull it all together, and we're working very hard to do that. And I will tell you that, as you know, all these principles will enhance our capability to increase our precision and our sustainment. It'll reduce downtime. It's cost effective. And so people say, well, hey, advanced manufacturing is expensive. Yes, but if we advanced manufacture something that we have had the process to reverse engineer and engineer out critical faults that made the part break in the first time, and we only have to print one versus going out to industry where there is incredible competition for castings and forging, for example, where we would have to buy 1,000 or 500 in order to make it competitive for them for industry to chew on this. We're going to save the Army money, and we're going to deliver parts faster. And it enhances safety. Some of the parts that we're printing, all of them are qualified replacements, but some of them are stronger, they're faster, they're lighter, the whole 9 yards. They're better parts, so it increases safety. And it optimizes our resources about where and the network will optimize our resources, where we invest in critical capabilities. Those are just some of the examples. But we're not there yet. We've got to continue to advance autonomous resupply, robotics, telemaintenance, data analytics, artificial intelligence, and advanced manufacturing. We have already seen how these technologies have increased our ability to support the warfighter, but we got to pull it all together. Because the modern battlefield, as we've seen, I'm going to leave here as soon as I'm done speaking and go straight out to Leavenworth, where I'm going to participate in the lessons learned session with the Chief Staff of the Army on Ukraine. The battlefield in Ukraine has taught us many, many things. Lethality, the covert distribution, distribution under pressure, and we've got to capture those lessons learned and then bake them back into our future concepts. It's essential that we equip our personnel also from a training base so that they know how to operate these systems, so they know what's available for them for advanced manufacturing and telemaintenance capability. And as a reminder, in that scenario that I just pointed out, that HIMARS crew, they were trained to do this. They were trained to do this, and it was automatic, it was muscle memory, because we do it in peacetime and we do it in wartime, and that's where we got to get to. The next thing is we have to change the way that we do business as a community. We must work closely with industry to guarantee that we have the tech data available to manufacture the parts we need, when we need them, and at the point of need, whether that's at Rock Island Arsenal, Kaiserslautern, Germany, or Podenz, Poland, or all the way down to the very forward edge. Alternatively, we need to be able to re-engineer that part, apply the key parts of advanced manufacturing to make it better, to make it stronger, and then make it so that we can manufacture at the point of need at the correct echelon. And we're working through all that stuff. Again, referring back to the scenario, hey look, tech data, you gotta help us on this. I know there's some policy issues that we have to do, and I understand it is your property, but you gotta help us on it. Right now, we have $250 million worth of delinquent back orders in the Army Material Command. A significant portion of those are for deadlining parts. If we had the tech data, we could start whacking away at that pile. You gotta help us with it. You gotta help us with it. We cannot afford to have lengthy discussions with lawyers, and I love lawyers. I started out my Monday talking to 300 lawyers. That was good. We cannot allow that to stifle our ability to provide the warfighter what they need and when they need it. As I mentioned earlier, we've learned a tremendous amount from the conflict in Ukraine, and one of the most significant lessons is the importance of effective maintenance. And this, as we know, and we see every single day, can be the difference between life and death. And as many of you know, we're focused on, over the past 20, 25 years, we've been focused on counterinsurgency, where we went down to 2 levels of maintenance. Now, looking at the lethality of the future battlefield, we do not believe that's enough. We also understand the personnel pressures and the in-strength pressures are going to make it difficult for us to add additional active duty mechanics, or additional green suit mechanics, I should say. But it is important to note that it is not just our green suiters that are doing tactical level maintenance. At any given day, we have 600 to 1,000 artisans from the Army Material Command that are out and about around our Army. And our depot maintenance teams, our flyaway teams we call them, are out and about around our Army, and they're making true readiness impacts. So for example, last year we sent a team from Corpus Christi Army Depot to South Korea to repair Chinook. The work, Chinook had to have depot level maintenance. The work took 13 days for our team to do while they were in Korea, compared to 220 days it would have taken if we would have had to transport that helicopter back using strategic lift to repair it at Corpus Christi and then send it back. A couple months ago, I visited Fort Stewart, as I mentioned, and observed a team from Anniston Army Depot, Roll Tide, Alabama, right?
Roll Tide.
And they were working on vehicles for 1st Brigade, 3rd Infantry Division. And that gentleman who's standing up on the turret there, right before we took this picture, he was on the business end of a 1,000-pound torque wrench as he was torquing the bore evacuator. And if you've ever seen a 1,000-pound torque wrench, it takes a guy that size to operate a 1,000-pound. But hey, that tank had been down for months. That tank had been down for months, and our depot team was able to fix it in their motor pool, in the Unis motor pool, and we are doing that kind of thing every day. And what we see is when we inject that depot level maintenance capability at the tactical edge, we see real readiness gains, both in the numbers, but the key piece is, and every division commander, every brigade commander I've talked to when we send one of these teams out tells me, hey look, the wrenches are great, the extra mechanics are great, but the tech inspections and the training that happens, look, every single one of these maintainers in that team have at least 15 years of experience working on the M1 tank. Our soldiers, we just don't have that training expertise at our lower levels. And so the vast majority of our maintenance in the Army is being conducted by our junior folks. We're going to change that, and we've got a couple of different programs. So we are catapulting off the success that we've seen throughout the years of our depot maintenance capability, and we are now integrating it into a process, and we call that our operational readiness program. So we layer the depot maintenance capability in accordance with the unit's training schedule, driven by the division commander on a single brigade, not focused on an Army fleet, but focused on unit level readiness. So we pick a unit, 1st Brigade, 1st Infantry Division is first in the chute, and they are going through the ORP process right now. So we inject depot maintenance capability. They do tech inspections on every single piece of rolling stock in the brigade. They identify the true dogs of that brigade, the vehicles that are consuming the most man hours and the most Class 9 dollars. We validate their tech inspection. We leave, they order the parts. We come back with another depot team and we start turning wrenches with that unit and doing training with that unit. You say, okay, that's not a big deal, you do it all the time. We do that all the time. But here's the key piece. At a point of time selected by the Division 8 Commander, we will integrate in 58 systems that have come out of the depot, and we're gonna swap out those dogs. So the piece that I didn't tell you is, when we inventoried and did the TIs and identified the 58 systems, they were quarantined. No more maintenance on them, no more dollars spent on them, and we're gonna replace every single one of them. Now, the equipment coming out of the depot is not a depot remanufacturer. It is a depot touch, we call it, it's a 1020 plus. It's a heavy depot, every system's gone through, every system that needs to be replaced is replaced. And I will tell you, I was down in Addison, right before Christmas, and 2 tanks. One was going through a complete rebuild for one of our allies, and one was going through the ORP process. And they were stacked right behind each other. You couldn't tell the difference because they were both stripped down to the hull. They were both stripped down to the hull. We believe, and then the final piece, we've layered data over the top of the entire thing, over the top of the entire process. So we're using data to say, this is the system that is consuming your class 9, these are the systems. We're also using data, and we're following the unit and gathering all of their training data. We're gathering all of their maintenance utilization data, and we're gonna make some predictions, because that unit is going to Europe to do an Atlantic Resolve rotation. And at the end of it, we're gonna predict before they go, this is how much class 9 they're gonna consume all the way down to the NSN level. And at the end of the entire process, we're gonna grade our paper, and then we're gonna start all over again, and make it better. Now, there's a bunch of different pieces to this. I'd love to take your questions, but we're really excited about this. This is a pilot program that is happening right now in our United States Army, and we're really excited. So the path is clear, but we're standing, like I said earlier, we can see it all, right? We got it at our fingertips. We can see it all. We just gotta continue to drive on the target. We gotta continue to drive on it. We've got to actively engage with each other, get the right kind of technology out there, accelerate the things that work, and put on the shelf or in the trash can the things that don't work. We've got to pick winners and losers at this point, because time is of the essence. I want to thank all of us who are working through these tough problem sets. I want to thank AUSA for hosting this. I would love to take any questions, but thank you for your time.
Good morning, gentlemen. Wes Casper, DoD embed over Department of State. So in adding joining us to this discussion, the future forces are going to be moving to distributed operations, clearly. And so I'm excited at the prospect that the local units are going to be more enabled to do their own manufacturing and maintenance. And you've touched on a lot of 3D manufacturing. My question is, as we have legacy systems that QC the widget and are very focused on quality controlling on the widget, how do you adapt those quality control processes to look at maybe QC now the process as opposed to the widget? And that's software, that's hardware, it's a different paradigm. And how does the Army struggle with that? Because I was recently touring and part of Navy Walker was down at Huntington Ingalls Industries, and the Navy at that shipyard, the contractor was specifically talking about how they were adopting 3D manufacturing, but they are running into a lot of roadblocks with the quality control and getting things certified. And so I'm wondering how the Army is struggling and overcoming that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And let me just break it into pieces. So one of the things I didn't talk about because of time is that we have a digital repository for tech data and for parts that we've reverse engineered. And Michael, I know you guys have to do 1,700 parts that you've gone through and evaluated. We have a digital repository, and in an ARTC rotation a few months ago, we were actually able to pass the digital file from the digital repository all the way down through LMP to G-Army to a unit, and they printed that part in the NWMSS and their organic capability. The second piece I would tell you is that we're really concerned about the proliferation of advanced manufacturing kit, if you will. So TACOM recently published a tech data or a tech bulletin, first of its kind. It lays out not only the parts that we're printing and how units can get them, but also, I don't know the blue list of printers that is out there and capability to point them towards that, so we can get closer to that validation of the process. because that's what we really have to do. And at our fixed facilities, that is what Michael Layler and the team at Take-On is chasing so hard, is to convince the engineers that we have validated a piece of machinery, so that we can rapidly reverse engineer and then print off that piece of machinery. Now, are we ever going to print 3D titanium or 3D print titanium at the Ford Edge of Battle? If you saw the size of the machine and what has to go into it, probably not. But we believe that we can do tech refreshes and integrate technology as technology evolves. Look, I commanded a depot. We bought our first 3D printer. It cost $30,000. We bought one for our son at Christmas that probably was just as capable, and it cost $300. And so the space is exploding. We want to vector units and look, and we're not going to try to stop units because the cat's out of the bag. Everybody's printing. We want to point them to the right way to do it, and then make sure that commanders are informed of the risk. When Take-On produces a part that says this is right, the guy who's signing the risk assessment is sitting right here. He's signing it, and the commanders understand that he said yes, this part is good, and then they sign a risk assessment saying this part is good. So there's a lot of different pieces to that, but we are focused on validation of the process. Thank you for your question.
Ken Kreitzer, CamVets Media. General, thank you for your service. Last month, we heard midshipmen talk about how the Navy is testing 3D printing to place on their ships for the same reasons you talked about, for producing spare parts quickly. I just wondered if you could elaborate on the types of parts and applications that you can see 3D printing helping the Army.
Yeah, so right now, we're folks to know, by the way, we have 3D printers on a couple of our watercraft, Army watercraft. And I want to take a step back from 3D printing because it's much more than that. It is advanced manufacturing. We get focused on 3D printing because that's where the space is exploding so much. But advanced manufacturing is also being able to do the second step, the finishing and the coatings, the heat treating, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But from a standpoint of right now, we're really focused on hard parts, and particularly for the Bradley and the 88, because Bradleys right now are kicking our hindside or our backside for Class 9. So we're really focused on those parts, the hard parts, if you will. In the future, and I was just talking to one of our teammates here today, hey, wiring harnesses. Hey, how do we rapidly manufacture wiring harnesses? Because wiring harnesses is a challenge. And then the second piece to that is, how do we use the tools that are out there, artificial intelligence, to help us do reverse engineering and help us work through some of the wicked problems like manufacturing wiring harnesses. And then get to that the final point is in what technology do we need to invest in the organic industrial base that will allow us to buy the right kind of things and make the right kind of kit and have that capability in times of national crisis and peace.
Hi, sir. My name's Scott Porter. I'm with Alice. I'm in the U.S. proxy. I say that for a reason. If I might just give you one message as you're going to head out to Leavenworth, and this is kind of a preamble to the next session. Before today, I walked through our factories up in Clarksburg and Germantown, and I asked the operations managers and the supply chain folks, what message would you like me to give the Army leadership tomorrow? And I know our friends from DOD and Commerce and State are in here too. The message I got was twofold. A, please, ask the Army to continue, when you talk to your legislative counterparts, to support the CHIPS Act. It's not cheap, it ain't easy, but as you know, there's a lot of applications where we need 100% US content.
Absolutely.
The other thing is trying to keep the door open for access to some key ally of foreign parts use in our systems. So sometimes, when Buy America comes up, we're gonna, we get a little nervous about that because, there are key capabilities that we need. So anyway, I just wanted to pass that on from the folks in the factory. That's some important stuff.
Yeah, and I don't push back on any of that. And put on another hat that we wear from a standpoint of Army construction. You know, we're trying to change the way that we do Army construction. We've got some great partners at the Corps of Engineers that we're working with. If we've looked at academia, college campuses, et cetera, how they build. They focused on a bid build process, and I bring that up because this exact point came up because we have Buy America impacts our ability to build Army facilities because this spec'd out transformer is not available. And I had a conversation with at the University of Alabama with their engineer who's responsible for all their hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars worth of construction. And he said, so we do bid build because then the contractor bids for what's available on the open market, and they're able to satisfy the Buy American pieces of that because they fall into the same thing in some cases. And so what my message is that when you're designing, that's got to be baked into it. That's got to be baked into the process that you design for what's available in the United States if it's going to be that critical for us in the future. Because you're right, that hurts us. That absolutely hurts us both from a ability to get parts, but also from a vulnerability standpoint. And there's a lot of us in here that have got scar tissue from some of the things that we've had to do with some of our weapon systems because of electronics and vulnerabilities.
Good morning, General Mohan. This is George Talbot.
Yeah, George, good to see you again.
From the Center for Joint and Strategic Logistics. You probably can guess my question. How well do you think we are doing at developing our future generations of leaders, both logisticians and not, associated with the pace of how technology and operational art are moving? And do you have any suggestions for us? And quite frankly, as you're headed to Leavenworth, maybe you'd like to pass some of the stuff out. But especially talking about it at the joint interagency enterprise levels, and that of course includes allies and partners. Any suggestions you have for us, be happy to take. Thanks.
Yeah, so that's a hard question, George, but here's where I tell you, from a tactical standpoint, our Army logisticians are doing very, very well. Integrated in, if you talk to division commanders that matter, they are, their sustainment commander, or their sustainment brigade commander, and their AFSB in commander are trusted agents, and they travel with them, they use them, they are integrated into their operations, and they are driving operations and enabling the maneuver commander. At the strategic level, you look around the room, we've got a bench of strategic leaders who are very adept and who have worked very hard to gain the skill sets necessary to operate at the strategic level. I think, and I saw this as the commander of the 21st TSC, we have a gap in between where the intersection of the green and the blue meet. And I'll just use the example of our depot teams. There's a lot of people that don't realize they're out there. They're a critical capability at the operational level that go all the way down to the tactical. DLA, we were just talking, Mark and I were just talking this morning about how DLA is going through an operationalizing, but he's got to have the right talent. We got to give him the right folks so that he can operationalize his headquarters. I have the same challenge in AMC, is operationalizing the headquarters. Business systems, we have stovepipes we love to put ourselves in, where we're really focused on the business systems and the money. And then we've got another group over here that work the operations, and they're all about boats and trains, and but having leaders that are adept and confident and competent to operate in both is where I see challenge, and we're working very hard to change that within. And I'll speak for our command within the Army Material Command.
Sir, we have one more hardball question for you.
Sir, good morning. Captain Skillman, Omar Bradley Fellow. My question is, AMGs are most effective when you have a workforce that's trained and available to use them. With this fix-it-forward methodology, how are we going to train those future, especially junior soldiers, to work with AMGs?
Oh, I tell you what, that's a really good question. And that picture of that guy up there, you don't create that overnight, right? Whenever, for our Army leaders who are in the field, whenever you see one of our depot teams, hey, look, they're not going to say, hey, look at us, we're the depot team. They're just going to do their job, because they're blue collar, hard working Americans, and you don't create them overnight. I will tell you, one of the things that we're doing in the Army Materiel Command is the integration of the Skill Bridge program. So we've been farming our young people out to industry for a couple of years now, where they go, a kid's going to get out of the military, we'll allow them several months to go and do that reintegration and work with a company as a potential, benefit to getting them hired if they do well. And we greatly appreciate your support in this. We greatly appreciate industry support in this. But from my standpoint, I had that aha moment when I had we have some property, I had a landscape contractor who, hey, if he said he was going to be there at 8 o'clock, he was there at 7:55, right? And he was ready to work. He worked really hard with his team. And so I started talking to this kid, and hey, he's a former soldier. He got out, and I said, obviously, UAS operator. Well, hey, why'd you get out? He said, because I wanted to come back home and raise my family. And I kicked myself. It was like that light bulb went off. Hey, why is that kid not working in Anniston, Alabama? Now he's doing well running his own business because he's good at it, but why did we not go after him to work in Anniston, Alabama? So we're working with the Skill Bridge folks to open up the organic industrial base for the Skill Bridge program. So we grab those young mechanics that really love turning wrenches, who are wearing a green suit, but they want to go back home to raise their families, and we integrate them in, give them a chance to work at our depots. And it's not just mechanics, it's supply chain folks. We've gone after some warrant officers who are Patriot technical experts to get them into our depots to fill some of our gap, because we have a whole lot of folks that are, as I put it, more experienced like I am, which means we're a whole lot closer to retirement than we are to the front end. So we got to fill that gap, and we believe we need to look internal as well. But we have to have the authorities necessary to do that as well. And so we're chasing, that's just one example of how we're chasing talent management. And our new deputy, our new EDCG, Ms. Miranda's here. And I know she's going to sit at the panel, but she might have some additional thoughts when she's on the panel. But we're going after the talent management piece, because you're right. We're doing stuff with data analytics across the headquarters, et cetera. So we're a lot of movement in that space. Okay, there's the hook.
Great discussion. Please give General Mohan a big round of applause.
I would say something about Appalachian State, but I won't. Because he's the commanding general today. Since you guys have been such a great crowd so far, we're going to take a short break so you can refill your coffee cups and shake hands. But let's give General Mohan another round of applause.